Got this comment stating that the tenant's landlord is selling the property and they weren't provided notice. They only found out that the property was for sale because I guess the realtor, real estate agent selling the property knocked on the door. Is that legal? Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord Warrior on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, I think we've covered this topic before, but it's just it's a good time to talk about this issue right now. Is giving proper notice to tenants if you intend on entering property, okay? And one of the reasons, or lawful reasons, why a landlord can enter a property, basically, that's occupied by a tenant is to facilitate the sale of the property, such as to show it to prospective buyers or the actual buyer in contract and or vendors and so forth that might be necessary to facilitate the sale, such as appraisers and so forth, okay? Generally speaking, if landlord and tenant don't mutually come to an agreement to, visit the property and so forth, the landlord would have to give a legal notice of entry telling the tenant on a specific date and time or range, so forth, that they're coming to the property. Okay, you usually do that by a written notice of entry. It's also known as a 24-hour notice to enter, because the law under Civil Code Section 1954 states that you got to give written notice at least 24 hours in advance. That's 24 hours is presumed reasonable under many circumstances. Okay. So that's kind of what a landlord will have to do. There is a small exception in Civil Code Section 1954 where a landlord can give a tenant notice that the property is going to be listed for sale. And for the next 120 days, that landlord could give 24 hours notice orally, such as by like telephone or in person, so forth, like that they're going to be in, the real estate agent, or, they're going to be showing the property on 24 hours notice. Okay. So technically speaking, if the landlord never intended to enter the property or have someone show the property, there's not necessarily a notice that the landlord has to give that the property is listed for sale. Okay. Now, there might be some other noticing procedures, such as handling security deposits once the property is actually sold, and notice a change of ownership that the successor owner might have to give after the property sold under Civil Code Section 1962. But to sell the property itself, there's no direct Civil Code section on point that says, hey, I'm listing the property for sale, I got to let the tenant know that property's for sale. But for most real estate sales where the property is probably going to be shown, you're going to have to give notice, and it's best that you informally let your tenants know and give notice under the Civil Code about the showings as well too. And that way the parties can mutually work together for showings and so forth, like that. A lot of times the things that I see with our office when we have landlords and tenants in dispute are there's just miscommunications. Okay. And it's better, just you take it for what it's worth, better to communicate and make arrangements to do things than, assume X, Y, and Z, or, hide the ball, so to speak. But you take that for what it's worth. Okay. Landlords, if you're in the Northern California area and you're contemplating selling your property, there may be several things that you want to consider with your tenants in possession. Okay. And you may need to figure out if you need to have just cause to terminate a tenancy, or you may need to know about your rights or and so forth about showing the property, or you need advice on handling a difficult situation where you're selling the property with a tenant in possession. If you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out. We might be able to help out. You can go to my profile down below and book a free case review session. Well, a couple questions will be asked to see if we're a good fit or not, but put your comments, questions down below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.